The first thing you hear is your own voice begging, and it takes you a full second to realize it's not a recording. It's you, right now, on your knees, hands zip-tied behind your back, a black hood pulled tight enough to make breathing a decision instead of a reflex. Someone in front of you counts down from 10 in a calm, bored tone, like this is routine. At 6, a gun presses against the side of your head. At 4, you understand the rules of this moment. You are not supposed to survive it. At 3, instinct overrides fear. You throw your weight sideways, slam your shoulder into the nearest set of legs, feel the gun discharge past your ear. The sound doesn't matter. The movement does. You don't think. You act. You twist your wrists until skin tears, until the restraint loosens just enough to slip free. Someone shouts. Another shot cracks. You're already moving. Blind, disoriented, running toward the only direction that feels like space. You collide with a wall, bounce, find a doorway by accident, and keep going. Your lungs burn. Your head rings. You don't know where you are or who took you, but you know one thing clearly. They expected you to die quietly. You refuse. You burst outside into open air and don't stop running until your legs collapse under you. When you finally look back, no one follows. No sirens, no chase. Just silence. That's when you realize something worse than being hunted. You were never meant to escape. You piece together what you can over the next few hours. Your phone is gone. Your ID is gone. Your name might as well be gone. The last thing you remember before waking up restrained is being pulled aside after a routine security job. Nothing high profile, nothing worth killing over, which means this wasn't about what you did, it was about what you could become. The black SUV finds you before you find answers. It doesn't rush, it doesn't hide, it stops exactly where you can see it, exactly where you can choose to run again, and you don't, because you already know running won't solve this. The door opens, a man steps out, composed, deliberate, like he's been watching this exact moment unfold on a screen. You adapt fast, he says, like that explains everything. You don't respond. You're calculating distance, options, angles. He notices. Of course he does. You were a test, he continues. Most people fail. You didn't. And if I had, you ask, your voice raw. He shrugs. Then this conversation wouldn't be happening. He tells you what the hood and the gun were really for. Not execution, but selection. They needed someone who doesn't freeze, someone who acts under pressure without waiting for permission, someone who can survive being erased. You ask what they want. He doesn't answer directly. He never does. Instead, he gives you a new identity, a location, a time. Show up, he says, or disappear for real this time. You show up. Training doesn't feel like preparation. It feels like dismantling. They don't build you into something new. They strip away everything that slows you down. Doubt, hesitation, attachment. You're pushed through scenarios where the wrong choice doesn't just fail, it costs someone else. They watch how you react when pressure isn't abstract anymore, when it's immediate and irreversible. You learn quickly that this isn't a normal unit. The rules change depending on who's watching. The objectives shift mid-operation. Success isn't measured by outcomes, it's measured by usefulness. You start as nothing more than a body in motion, an operator executing commands you don't question because questioning is treated like weakness. Your first mission feels straightforward. Intercept, neutralize, extract. Clean, simple, contained. It isn't. The target doesn't match the briefing. The location is wrong. The resistance is too organized. You follow orders anyway, because that's what you've been trained to do. When it's over, the official report aligns perfectly with the original plan, as if none of the inconsistencies existed. That's when you understand. The truth isn't something you're given. It's something that gets edited. You keep your head down, you perform, you survive. That's enough to get noticed. Promotion comes faster than it should. You're put in charge of a small team, and suddenly, the distance between decision and consequence disappears. Before, you could tell yourself you were just part of a machine. Now you are the machine, at least for the people under you. Your first command tests you immediately. A raid based on intelligence you don't fully trust. You see gaps in the plan, inconsistencies that don't add up. You bring it up. You're told to proceed. So you do, but differently. You adjust angles, shift timing, create room for error. It works. Your team gets out clean. The objective is completed. You're praised for efficiency. But one of your team members asks a question afterward. A simple one. Why did it feel wrong? You don't answer because you don't have one that won't complicate everything. As you climb higher, the questions get louder, even if no one says them out loud. You start seeing patterns. Targets that overlap with political interests, operations that align with financial movements you're not supposed to notice. You realize this unit doesn't just operate in the shadows, it shapes them. You become a strategist, then a commander. Each level gives you more control and less clarity. You can influence missions, but not the reasons behind them. You can protect your team, but not from everything. You start making choices that bend the system without breaking it. Small adjustments, delays, redirects. You tell yourself you're minimizing damage. Sometimes you are. Sometimes you're just shifting it somewhere else. Then you get access to something you weren't supposed to see. A file, unmarked, buried deep, connected to your initial test. It wasn't random. It wasn't just about your reaction. It was part of a larger process, one that selects, trains, and places people into roles where they can be controlled through what they've done. You weren't chosen because you survived. You were chosen because you would do whatever it takes to keep surviving. That realization changes everything. Now you're not just navigating missions, you're navigating yourself. Every decision becomes a question. Is this who you are or who they made you into? You reach a point where your rank gives you enough influence to attempt something dangerous. Not open rebellion. That would get you erased. Something quieter. You start collecting information, mapping connections, identifying who's pulling the strings. It's bigger than you expected. The unit isn't rogue, it's embedded, protected, necessary to people who will never appear in any report. That's why it works. That's why it continues. You consider walking away, disappearing, but you know too much. There's no exit that doesn't come with consequences for you, for anyone connected to you. So you choose the harder path, you stay. But you stop playing by their rules. You begin to operate in layers, what they see, what your team sees, and what you're actually doing. You create redundancies, contingencies, fail-safes. You prepare for a moment you can't fully define yet. It comes sooner than you expect. An operation lands on your desk that doesn't just feel wrong, it is wrong. The target isn't a threat. They're a liability to someone powerful. The mission is a cover for removal. You recognize the pattern because you've seen it before. Because it happened to you. You're given full control of the operation. A test of trust or a setup. You plan it perfectly. On paper, it's flawless. In reality, it's something else entirely. You move your team into position, execute the initial phases, and then you change the objective without announcing it. You extract the target instead of eliminating them. You create enough chaos to mask the deviation, enough confusion to delay questions. For a moment, it works. Then the system reacts. Not loudly, not immediately, but precisely. Access gets restricted. Communications get monitored. You feel the shift before anyone says a word. You've crossed a line. Now every move you make is under scrutiny. Every decision is analyzed. You can't afford mistakes, but you also can't stop. Because now it's not just about survival, it's about control. You start accelerating your plan, whatever that plan is becoming. Gathering evidence, building leverage, identifying allies who might not even realize they're allies yet. And all the while, you continue to lead. That's the part that changes you the most. Not the missions, not the violence, but the ability to operate normally while everything underneath is unstable. You give orders, make calls, complete objectives, all while preparing to dismantle the structure that gave you that authority. It's a contradiction that shouldn't work, but it does. Until it doesn't. The call comes in the middle of the night. Not an order, not a briefing, a single instruction, report alone. You know what that means. You go anyway. Because at this level, refusal is just a slower version of the same outcome. You step into the room, and for the first time since this started, you're not the one in control. And you realize something as the door closes behind you. This was never just about climbing the ranks. It was about seeing how far you'd go before you decided to break. And now, they're about to find out.